First road game of the season for the Cardinals. Louisville has an opportunity to pick up another quad one victory when they play Arkansas on Wednesday. Many college basketball fans around the country are going to be tuning in for a very specific matchup.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Card Nation, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into this Wednesday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. This is my 6th year covering U of L, 4th year hosting this show. Of course, Locked On Louisville is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network in the world. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Got a great show for you today. 2 weekly mailbag segments, 2 questions. One is centered around Jeff Brohm's future. Should we be worried that an extension is not done yet? What about the Penn State rumors? We'll tackle all of that. We'll also highlight the top needs in the transfer portal for the Louisville football team. But we'll begin today's show by previewing the first road game of the season for Pat Kelsey's team. Number 6 Louisville travels down to Fayetteville to play the 25th ranked Arkansas Razorbacks. 7:15 tip-off on Wednesday down in Bud Walton Arena. And look, there are definitely much easier places to play your first true road game of the season than Bud Walton Arena. Makes it even worse that Arkansas has a good team. For those wondering, the Cincinnati game was technically a neutral site game, even though they played Cincinnati in Cincinnati, and there was a lot of Cardinal red. Let's be honest. There was a lot of Louisville fans in the stands, but it's going to be a tough game. Louisville is a 3.5-point favorite, according to our friends and the title sponsor of the show, FanDuel. First road game of the season, an opportunity to pick up a quad one victory. Arkansas is number 45 in the first net rankings of the season that dropped on Monday. But before we tell you everything you need to know about the rotations, let's talk about that very specific matchup that I teased in the opener that I believe is going to draw many neutral fans to watch this game. Fans that don't have a dog in the fight. Fans that don't care about Louisville, don't care about Arkansas. They're just watching good hoops. Now, a top 25 matchup, that's automatically going to draw some more people in. But you have a marquee freshman head-to-head matchup. Mikel Brown Jr. going up against Darius Acuff Jr. Now, to explain why this matchup is as popular as it is, you kind of got to go back the past 12 months, 18 months. Darren Peterson, for a long time, was considered a combo guard, according to recruiting sites. So Mikel and Darius kind of went back and forth throughout the past 18 months on who is the top point guard in the 2025 high school class. Mikel was number 1 on some sites. Darius was number 1 on other sites. And it caused a good amount of debate between Louisville and Arkansas fans back in the spring when you had the Nike Hoop Summit, the McDonald's All-American game, and both are great players. Now you get an opportunity to see them go head-to-head. So instinctively, early in the season, one good thing about these non-conference games is that with as great of a freshman class as there is right now in college basketball, you get to see some great matchups. Like you'll get to see Mikel Brown Jr. against Cameron Boozer coming up here in January. Now, the thing is, both of those guys don't play the same position. This is like a head-to-head. Will Mikel and Darius be guarding each other for the majority of this game on Wednesday? I'm not sure, but you best believe that their performances are going to be stacked up side by side. And, hey, kind of gives you a little bit of bragging rights for a fan base. Say, hey, look, I told you so. Even though one game doesn't tell the full tale, you best believe the fan base whose player plays better than the other, you're going to see those bragging rights come out. So that's going to draw some neutral attention, some added attention naturally, not only because you have 2 good teams playing, but you've got that matchup to watch out for. Looking at this game against Arkansas, let's take a look at what Arkansas has done up until this point. They're 5-2, all 5 wins coming at home. Their 2 losses at Michigan State, 69-66, second game of the season, which actually doesn't look like a bad loss considering how good the Spartans look right now. And then they lost in late November. Their final game that they've played, they lost to Duke 80-71. Another quality team that they played. Outside of that, it's been kind of up and down. Like they beat Samford by 4 points. They followed that up with a 1-point victory against Winthrop. So, and then they beat Jackson State 115-61. The team that Louisville beat 106-70. So pretty similar outcomes of both of those. Arkansas is a good team. I think on paper they might be one of the best teams in the SEC. They've just got to show it. It's a rotation that features 8 players. I think the shortest player in the rotation is 6'3", which is Darius Acuff Jr. But Acuff hasn't been the most impressive freshman, really. It's been Malik Thomas, who is the leading scorer. 2 leading scorers for Arkansas, 17.6 for Malik Thomas, 17.4 for Darius Acuff. Both are true freshmen. Thomas, 6'5", freshman from Pittsburgh. Those 2 guards lead the way for John Calipari's team. The backcourt also features Carter Knox, DJ Wagner, Billy Richmond III. And then the front court, you've got Trevon Brazile, who's averaging basically 13 and 8 and 1.7 blocks, 1.0 steals. You've got Malik Ewan, the Florida State transfer, and Nick Pringle, the transfer from South Carolina. So kind of like Louisville, you have really good freshman play that is surrounded by veteran leadership, guys that had played a ton of high-level Power 5 basketball. Someone asked me, what's the style of play for Arkansas? And my Calipari, Kentucky. Think back to that. It's a team that plays physical. It's a larger team, taller team that plays physical. They try to be the physical enforcer. They try to out-tough you. They get disruptive on defense, and they crash the boards. Now, Louisville averages more rebounds than Arkansas. Arkansas's played better teams for the most part, but Louisville does average more rebounds. They also shoot pretty decently from 3. Now, full transparency, the Cardinals have shot close to about 80 more three-pointers than John Calipari's team. But 170-ish attempts for Arkansas, they make 35.5% of those. Not a bad number at all. That's actually pretty respectable. Malik Thomas, 34.5%. Acuff, 45%. Carter Knox, 47%. DJ Wagner, 33%. Like, you've got guys that can knock down the deep ball. So this is going to be a good test. Remember yesterday when I talked about why this 4-game stretch means a lot? I want to see how Louisville does against a team like Arkansas. I think that Arkansas' strengths go up well against Louisville's perceived weaknesses that we've seen through the first month or so. But I think that Louisville's guard play, I think you've got the advantage there. The front court, Sinan Defru, I think is going to hold his own in this matchup. Really just is going to depend. How's Louisville going to handle that road environment? I could see a couple of different outcomes here. I'm not particularly petrified about this game. Like, Louisville could very well lose. I'm not petrified about this game to where I'm saying that the Cardinals have to play basically mistake-free basketball. But I think that there's a recipe for avoiding an upset in this game, and it involves not getting down in a deficit to where you allow the crowd to get in the game, because when you do, Bud Walton Arena can get loud. Try not get in foul trouble, especially in the front court. And I think that Louisville's guards are going to have to come to play. Mikel Brown Jr., Isaac McNeely, Ryan Conwell. But they understand the assignment. That's why you go out and you get a guy like Ryan Conwell and Isaac McNeely, 2 players that have played a very good amount of high-level basketball. So this is going to be a good I think, measuring stick performance for the Cardinals. Like I said, road test, opportunity to pick up a quad one victory, and a contrasting style that I want to see how Louisville combats. So we will highlight what happens in this game when we come back tomorrow, but I'm going to predict a Louisville victory. Let's put that to the side for the moment. I admittedly wasn't going to have a weekly mailbag because of all that's going on this week, but I had multiple people ask me questions about Jeff Brohm's future. Dalton, are we worried about the Penn State rumors? Dalton, what's going on with the Jeff Brohm extension? I'm going to give you my thought on this perceived intel about Jeff Brohm and the perceived interest with Penn State. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into Locked On Louisville, covering your team every day. NFL Sundays move fast. One large play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. For me, I reaped the benefits of that this past weekend when my Chargers played against the Las Vegas Raiders. There was one drive coming up. And I said, you know what? I think Kamani Vidal is going to get the ball here. And the bet cashed pretty easily when he broke off a career-long 50-plus yard touchdown. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips on a big play. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, so can you. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked On Louisville, free and available on all streaming services, including YouTube and TikTok, 5 days a week. Your team every day. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment in the YouTube section below. Both are great ways to help the show continue to grow. If you are a part of the Everydayer Club, welcome back. We're glad that you are making us part of your daily routine. If this is your first time tuning in, we're glad that you're here. We hope that you come back for a future episode. You all have played a key part in making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network on planet Earth. And I love seeing the engagement on social media, the YouTube comments, but my favorite thing to see are people reaching out to me and asking if a certain question can get thrown into the mailbag. And like I mentioned before the break, I wasn't going to have a mailbag because of everything that's going on. It's a jam-packed schedule, but I had multiple, heavy emphasis on multiple, many people ask me about this Jeff Brohm situation. What do you think about the quote-unquote report that came out? What do you think about the fact that the extension hasn't come yet? Are you scared that he's going to go to Penn State? And I'm going to answer that by introducing the tweet that kind of made Louisville fans spiral. This is a tweet from Liam Blutman for Barstool. I think Liam is a Barstool person at Blutman27 on X, Twitter, whatever. If I'm quoting this verbatim, this is a tweet from Monday. If Satake/PSU falls through and he returns to BYU, I'm told the backup plan for Penn State is Jeff Brohm, who would almost certainly accept. If Penn State gets to Brohm, Will Stein will then have a decision to make between Kentucky and Louisville. If Will takes Elville, Hartline gets UK. Okay. First, things have already happened. Satake returning to BYU. Will Stein is the head coach of Kentucky. I'll say this. If the intel was that Jeff Brohm would almost certainly accept a job with Penn State, I personally think the intel is incorrect. I don't buy that at all. I haven't bought it for the past couple of months. The tweet doesn't just say accept, but almost certainly accept. Not buying it all. I'm sorry. It doesn't make sense to me. it goes back to maybe on the surface, you look at a job like Louisville, you look at a job like Penn State. If a guy coaching Louisville gets offered the job at Penn State, do they leave? 9 times out of 10, maybe. This is one of those 1 out of 10 situations where you have a guy that is from Louisville, played at Louisville, has coached at Louisville, wanted to come back to Louisville. This is his home. The extension talks have been ongoing. And although I don't have legitimate intel that I can give you, I will share some conversations that I have with people that would know. And not once, in many conversations that I've had over the past 2 months, not once have I reached out to said people, and said people have even had a shred of concern. There's no concern that Jeff Brohm is going to leave Louisville for Penn State, according to people that would know if there was some heavy traction. So, Penn State's a better job than Louisville. Okay, we're not having that conversation. You also got to have the conversation of why Penn State opened up in mid-October and they haven't hired a coach. They've seemingly missed on many candidates. Again, not trying to sit here and argue which is the better job. Penn State, when things are going well, pretty good job, but they fired James Franklin, who, might have not been able to win the big game, but look at the success levels there. I see the Jimmy Sexton conspiracy theories out there. I can't speak to the validity of those. I don't know him personally. I don't care. What I will tell you is that I am not worried about Jeff Brohm leaving Louisville for Penn State. The other question people have asked is in regards to the extension. Why hasn't it happened yet? And what's crazy to me is I'm kind of sitting here guys, I guess Josh Hurd can't win, according to some of Card Nation, because think about it. If he extends Brohm after the 3-game losing streak, then people think that it was a situation where Hurd didn't read the room correctly. Why would you extend him after the 3-game losing streak? And now it's why haven't you extended him now? And it's come on, bro. The truth is, I would very much be led to believe that extension talks are ongoing. It's not really a secret. I will differentiate opinion and reporting. If I'm reporting something, I'll tell you. If I'm giving my opinion on something, I will also clarify that. This is my opinion. There's 2 things. Number 1, if you were to ask me my opinion, I would say that NIL increase and staff pool increase matter just as much to Jeff Brohm about adding more years on the back end of that contract and some more money annually. I think that there's focus on, okay, I'm going to get paid. I'm going to get a raise. I'm going to get an extension. But if I want to compete, we're going to need some more NIL money, and we're going to need the staff pool to increase. What I will tell you, take this however you want, an agent's job is to use the leverage they have to get their client what they want. And maybe Jeff Brohm lost some of that leverage when they lost 3 straight games. Maybe that did postpone or at least push back the extension talks for the moment, which is my second opinion. I don't think it halted extension talks. I think it just kind of put them on standby for the moment because you went from 7-1 to 7-4. So you lose a little bit of that leverage. Jobs get filled up. Now, I do think it is critical that you get the extension done one way or the other this offseason. Even if Penn State were to hire a coach tomorrow, even if no other school piques Jeff Brohm's interest, I think you'd be operating in your best interest to go ahead and give Brohm that raise, give him that extension, increase the NIL pool, and give some more money to his staff. So in conclusion, I'm not worried about Jeff Brohm leaving to Penn State. I might be wrong. Stranger things have happened, and this coaching carousel is wild. But my opinion, until I'm told otherwise, is that Jeff Brohm is going to be the head coach at Louisville for a very long time. Another question that has been asked multiple times is about the transfer portal, which, if you know, opens up in January this year. It is a hectic window. Louisville has some needs in the portal. Most of them, I would venture out to say that they're on the offensive side. But I have a ranking of my top 5 portal needs for Louisville this offseason. The first one might create a little bit of controversy, and you'll know why when I tell you what number 1 is, and we'll do that when we come back. You're tuned into Locked On Louisville, covering your team every day. Card Nation, don't forget, we will discuss what happens in the Arkansas game on Thursday, but we will also have an early signing day recap reaction episode, either out on Thursday or Friday. It's kind of fluid at the moment because, well, it depends on how many players sign, how much news we get on Wednesday, because it is a period that goes from Wednesday to Friday. So we'll kind of play it by ear, but we're definitely going to talk about the Arkansas game when we come back on Thursday. But let's answer the final mailbag question. And basically it revolves around the desire to know what the top needs are in the portal for Louisville football. And I don't know that there is one correct order. If there are correct answers, this is just my opinion. Number 1, I think, is going to ruffle some feathers. It's going to make you all kind of roll your eyes a little bit, but I'm going to explain it. I think number 1 is quarterback. Of course, hitting on the quarterback addition is going to have a direct impact on your season. Like, see this year, right? You need to bring in the right quarterback. For those saying, well, we need to go with Deuce Adams, we need to go with Briggs Cherry, I don't necessarily disagree that the right option is an internal option. What I will say is that I'd be very shocked if Louisville doesn't go to the portal to get a quarterback, at the very least to compete with Deuce Adams. But I'm led to believe, from some discussions that I've had, that Louisville's likely going to go and try to land a solid quarterback to, at the very least, compete with Deuce. Very real possibility you're going for your starter. Briggs Cherry, think he's got all the talent in the world. Are you relying on a true freshman to come in and start? Not sure. I don't think that's Brohm's MO either. Like, it takes a little bit of time to learn that offense. Do you think Deuce Adams is the quarterback of the future? I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I'm just going to tell you that I would be completely, utterly shocked if the Cardinals don't go to the portal to get a quality quarterback. And the quarterback addition is going to matter a ton, because even if you think that Deuce should get a shot, I agree, he does. But you need to create some competition. And I think that it's too early to tell for Mason Mims. Briggs Cherry is going to be a true freshman. I think if there is like a ready quarterback on the roster, it will be Deuce Adams. You got to create some competition at the least. And due to Brohm's decision not to pull Miller Moss at any point this season in favor of any of the backup options, those backup options didn't play until Miller got hurt, kind of might lead you to seeing what Louisville has, or seeing what Louisville believes about their quarterback group, that they're just not ready. Will they be ready next year? TBD. I think you have a good opportunity for a quarterback battle this spring. Quarterback addition is going to matter. I think it's your number 1 option. Number 1 priority. Number 2 is the offensive line. Offensive line was serviceable at the end of the year. This was definitely the most lackluster offensive line play of the 3 years under Jeff Brohm. And I think it was a combination of misses in the portal and not having developed those high school guys. Like, you don't have many high school guys that you've brought in and been able to develop to that level. You have a couple of recruiting classes under your belt. You're bringing in some offensive linemen. This cycle, I think it's going to matter because you saw struggled to run the football early in the season. It hurt your ability to throw the ball downfield because you couldn't protect your quarterback for that long. Offensive line is going to dictate how well this offense flows. If you protect your quarterback, if you open up holes for your running backs, things can go smoothly. But you have some holes. Pete Nigra is gone. Javonte Sylvester is gone. The majority of your starters on the line are gone. Now, I would imagine that some of the depth options will step up into those roles, but if there's a focus outside of quarterback that you can make like 1A, 1B, it's the offensive line, in my opinion. The third one is wide receiver. Pretty self-explanatory. You lose Chris Bell. You lose Colin Lacey. You lose Dakari Collins. So you've got Trayshawn Hurry. You've got, I think you might have Antonio Meeks. And you've got some other players that have transferred in. Probably a spot where you take multiple guys in the portal because you have to, and I think you need that go-to number one wide receiver option. You might need a wide receiver 2 option as well. Can Trayshawn Hurry or Antonio Meeks rise into that role? Excuse me. I'm not sure, but you need some guys that can create separation. I think one of the more underrated aspects of Louisville's struggles, not only this year, but years past, is that outside of like the top receiver, the others have struggled to create that separation. So wide receiver is my third need. Most of your needs are on offense. The fourth need, however, is the interior defensive line. You're projected to lose some players on the interior. Now, there are some players that can step up as well. Some guys you brought in via transfer in this cycle, some other guys that you believe in that you've had within the program the past couple of years, but you lose Renee Conga. He's been great this season. I think that this was his final season, if I'm not mistaken. I'm almost positive, unless he gets like a medical red shirt. Not sure if he would or not, but that would, of course, change things. And this is all fluid as well because you don't know who's going to leave the program unexpectedly, who's going to be able to come back. It's hard to tell who has another year and who doesn't. So Renee Conga is one of those players to focus on. Jordan Gerard is the other player. Both of those guys started on the interior of the defensive line. Not easy to go out and get difference makers, but they did. And I remember when Louisville added both of those guys, many people kind of looked around like, what is Jeff Brohm doing? Trust the cook in the kitchen, guys. Jeff Brohm and staff have done a pretty decent job overall evaluating portal talent. So the interior of the defensive line is number 4 for me. I'll admit, number 5, I went back and forth. I said maybe linebacker because you're losing TJ Quinn. Stanquan Clark is back, probably. You lose Caleb Perry. You have some internal options that could step up and potentially TJ Capers and Stanquan Clark. But I ended up going with the cornerback spot. Tay Holloway is projected to come back. You've got true freshman Jordan Broadnax. This is being recorded on the late Tuesday night, so hopefully they get him to sign. He could be in the mix to play early on. But Jabari Mack, Rodney Johnson, those 2 guys are, I believe, going to be gone. You bring back Justin Agu and some other players. Sorry, I'm sitting here and it's so hard to tell which seniors have eligibility for another year and who doesn't. So you've got guys like Antonio Harris, Raymond Mosby, who could see more opportunities. But I think adding a cornerback or 2 just to give you that veteran presence, maybe like a lockdown CB1 in the portal, would be a great thing to add to this secondary. So going to be interesting to see how Louisville moves. You understand that they try to move pretty quickly, bring guys on visits, and push for those commitments. Portal opens up in January. Louisville lost Dave McCullough to the portal. That news came on Tuesday afternoon. McCullough at safety didn't really get much run this past season. Not really much of a surprise. I would imagine he's probably not the only guy that's going to enter the portal from this Louisville team. So we will, of course, stay in the moment and discuss what's relevant throughout the month of December. That's going to wrap up this Wednesday edition of the show. Go Cards.